Welcome to Two Crazy Scoops Podcast with your hosts AO and Antino, with our special guest this week, Miguel Peru. Enjoy. We're going to talk about some pretty crazy topics, musically, artistically, autistically, all that fun stuff. Wow. Enjoy. Hi, welcome to Two Crazy Scoops Podcast with your hosts AO and Antino, and we have our special guest, our virus specialist this week, here to talk to us about the medical views. And
wait, what was your last name again?
Peru, like the country.
Okay, yeah. All right, because he said it a little bit differently. So
Peru.
Yeah,
the accent.
Yeah, it's like at home. Yeah.
Got you. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Sorry, next time I'll say Peru.
You can say it however you want.
So, I've really been looking forward to having you on the show, Miguel.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Sadly, we're not going to talk anything about you because there's been some pretty insane things happening.
Hey, I think we got to address what's going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, no, there's a few things on the list
If
for him.
any of you start coughing, instant.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
Our listeners can't tell, but I'm in a bubble suit right now. So.
Yeah. Actually, we're all quarantined ourselves in each corner just in case.
Just in case.
It's nothing personal.
We just got to be proactive.
Yeah. So I'm here to announce that all entertainment has been canceled. Life has been canceled, as it is.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's an introvert's daydream, my friend.
Oh, yes, it is.
No hugging, no talking.
Well, you know what's funny? I still automatically, just by habit, I still reach out to shake people's hands.
Oh, yeah.
And usually other people remind me, like, we'll just do this. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. And then they'll hand me an elbow or they'll fist bump. And I'm like, that's right. But it's just a habit. I just reach, hey, how's it going? So.
Yeah, all day I've been doing that. It's just, force of habit. You get used to it. It's part of our culture. At least,
no, man.
At least here.
I don't even shake people's hands. I'm just like,
That being said, I've been waiting for this day for a very long time. Not the virus aspect, but the ceasing of shaking hands.
Oh, really? Yeah. So you're a no contact person.
Yes, hugs are cool for me, but if I know the person really well, but the handshaking, I don't know. It feels awkward, I'm not sure if the other person is cool with it, so it's different,
Okay, and that's how I feel about hugs here.
Okay.
Because in Bridgeport, where I was at, everyone gave hugs and a kiss on each cheek, kind of that type
Take it
style.
easy,
Yeah.
No, they did, and it was pretty typical. And it's so funny because I got so used to doing that when I went back home to visit, I saw this couple that I was around a lot when I was still living in Detroit. And when I went up to his wife, the very first thing I did was, hey, how's it going? I gave her a hug and then the kiss on one cheek and then on the other. And he was standing in Detroit. That's obviously not a thing. And he was standing behind her at a distance looking like, oh, no, this fool didn't just kiss my wife. About to go.
Hide your kids.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But it dawned on me as I was going in for the second one. But I'm like, well,
you're already there.
Finish it. Yeah.
Oh, might as well. But no, seriously. I don't know. I don't really care. Contact, it doesn't. I'm all about what makes the other person comfortable.
Yeah.
So if they don't want any contact, then I'm fine with that. Right. But if they want a hug or whatever.
So what do you think about a lot of these sports events getting canceled?
I could care less.
Me too.
It doesn't affect me at all.
I was like, yes. They're calling it March Sadness now.
Yeah, good.
Really?
Oh, that's right. After I read that this morning. Yeah.
It's no longer March Madness. So to all of our fans out there who are crying because they can't watch basketball, I do sincerely apologize.
Yeah.
But, you have us to keep you company.
Yeah. And the one guy, the memes are hilarious. The one guy who got tested positive for it, he will forever go down, not as being a good player, but just as the guy who shut down the NBA.
Who?
I forgot his name.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess he won't go down then.
But, yeah.
That's crazy. So another thing is there's no more toilet paper, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
And as our medical expert, Miguel, do you have any answer for why that's happening?
Well, my trunk is currently filled with about, 50 rolls of toilet paper, but
I was going to bring you a roll of toilet paper as a gift for coming on the show, and then I realized I might not be able to find it anymore. as a joke, just as a gag. So I went to Fry's and I was like, I just buy a little pack, and I was like, whoa, they're serious. Like they went out and bought all the toilet paper. I don't know who.
Yeah, it disappeared at my store too, and I don't even know. Like yesterday, like just a day or two ago, I was like, oh, I should probably grab a roll, a packet or so. They're gone.
So apparently, the World Health Organization is suggesting that individuals wrap themselves in toilet paper like a mummy, and that stops the spread of it.
You're joking, right?
Yeah, I'm joking.
Okay, I was about to say like,
Yeah, don't take anything on this podcast too seriously, please.
I seriously stopped. Like, what?
You're gonna see
What
people walking around like a
nonsense.
mummy.
Oh my god.
Nothing has been fact checked on this.
No, nothing.
Yeah.
It's just panic buying. That's all it is. People just
Yeah.
there's something going on and they just go and buy crap.
Toilet paper, though.
Yeah.
Well, we sold out of toilet paper, obviously hand sanitizer, alcohol,
Yeah.
and also what we're selling out of at our store is a lot of the, stuff like elderberry, different natural remedies like that that people use.
Wow.
What else? Zinc is selling out. Vitamin C, those little vitamin C packets.
Yeah.
Emergency. Those have been selling out
Yeah.
like crazy.
Those, yeah.
And what else? Oh, and then the 1 gallon water.
Something I did find interesting, though, is that as I'm walking down the aisle in Fry's, on one side there's toilet paper, and on the other side there's party accessories, plastic forks, spoons, and napkins. There was so many napkins. Mm-hmm. You would think, it's the same thing, right?
Depends on what brand you're talking about.
Depends on the.
Those really like special party ones that don't absorb anything.
You're right, exactly. They just smear everything.
It's like single ply. It's not.
Yeah, you don't want single ply. No, toilet paper is specifically softened to some of it is.
Yeah, but if worse comes to worse, it's either that or you're ripping pages out of a book and have fun with that one.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, it's so funny. So what my grandmother told me is that we're talking way back in the day, she grew up on a farm, outhouse, we're talking that era. She said that when they didn't have any toilet paper, they would actually take a brown paper bag, and they would rub it together, like tear it and keep rubbing it together. And she did that one time for like 2 or 3 minutes, just kept rubbing it together. And then she said, now feel it. And the paper bag was actually super soft.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So back in the day, they had their own little tricks for, when they didn't have something.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is like you're kind of dependent on it so much that toilet paper can like debilitate you right now.
Yeah, you don't think about it, but then you think about the people who are older who didn't have stuff like that. It's like they've figured out what to do. Anyway, it's kind of a side point.
But yeah, people are just stocking up like, it's the end of the world. Theoretically,
it is, but
yeah. Theoretically, this toilet paper could last you with the amounts they're getting. They could last you for a couple of years, I think. The way they're stocking up,
Yeah,
and they're going to realize that pretty soon.
Yeah,
and they're like,
maybe they think they can sell it or something. I don't know. I don't think that toilet paper would be a hot commodity if everything shut down, though.
That's true.
Yeah,
They're like, please, sir.
Well, you would think. Well, I don't know.
I would
You would
trade
think
you
if
my
people were gonna-
children for a roll of toilet paper.
Yeah,
It's on the black market.
There's this funny meme. Do you ever watch the Pawn Stars?
Oh yeah,
Ever watch
I've seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's this funny meme that's going on where this guy, he has like a case of water, a roll of toilet paper, and like a bottle of Perel on the counter, and trying to pawn it in.
That's fun. But I think a lot of people think that this is like a diarrhea situation when really it's the virus is respiratory.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It has
Well, you're the expert, Miguel, so.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. I should be telling you.
Yeah, you should be filling us in.
Yeah, it's respiratory.
It's respiratory, 100%.
Yeah.
But also, it makes it so you can't do your taxes. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that reminds me.
Oh, dude, I just did it. It's like the worst. It feels like homework all over again. Anyways,
it is.
we're not talking about that. That's a tangent.
Okay.
That's for another day when we have our tax expert in here.
Oh yeah.
We'll find out who that is.
Our tax episode
Yeah.
coming next month.
Yeah, coming next
April
month.
15th.
April 15th. Yeah.
More lines out the door. But yeah, so since toilet paper is sold out, I would like to fill everyone in on the good old days and
Yeah.
QT napkins.
It's just
Done.
Man, I don't know. I was just thinking today that it's so weird how, what was it, a few years ago, Ebola was the big thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy too.
Right?
Yeah, it was Ebola.
Did stuff sell out like that though?
No,
not like this.
And the hand sanitizer was a pretty big thing back then too, because they were saying, obviously,
so. Yeah,
you would think that would sell out.
And then like swine flu or
yeah,
Yeah, the
H1N1. Yeah,
last year was romaine lettuce. I think everybody was afraid.
that's been like the last couple of years. Romaine lettuce was a few years.
That actually freaked me out because I walked into Walmart and they had the whole vegetable section like screened off, and I was like, "What is going on?" I was expecting everyone to be running around in a panic or something. I was like, "Where am I going to get my lettuce that I'm just going to throw back in the garbage?"
But that's just one crop, though. But every few years there's
lettuce might work pretty good as toilet paper.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Backing your toilet.
It's all green.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Every couple of years there's some type of viral or, some type of epidemic, some virus or something that goes rogue every few years.
And if you have coronavirus, we're sorry, we're not laughing at your expense.
Yes. Chances are anyone who listens to this probably does not have it, though.
We have a big following in Italy, actually. I bet you didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't. So
Yeah.
Really? That's news to me.
Yeah, so we need to get our spaghetti expert on here next.
Oh, my God. But so I don't know.
The interesting thing is that it's not funny, but Tom Hanks does have the coronavirus.
And his wife.
But I don't know. I think you would expect him to be the first one to get it, seeing as he does live in an airport. I watched a documentary about how he lives in an airport. That's how he met his wife, and they both live in the airport still to this day. Yeah. Apparently, he can't leave legally, so I was pretty concerned. I just thought he'd be the first one to get it, if anything.
And he is, so that's exactly what happened.
I thought he lived on an island with a volleyball.
Really? Yeah. No, that was after or before. I don't even know the time. He's got a lot of documentaries out there, let me just tell you.
He does, yeah.
So speaking of that, do all these movies take place in one, like, universe of Tom Hanks, where he's...
What movies has he done?
Well, it goes all the way back to, like, Splash.
Yeah, with the mermaid, Splash.
He's with the mermaid?
Mm-hmm. You never saw Splash?
No.
That's like 80-something. Yeah. And then, what else? Forrest Gump.
At a certain period of time, I got
Bubble
Tom
Gump.
Hanks mixed up with Bill Murray for some reason, but now I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, Groundhog Day! Oh, no, that's Bill Murray.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember all his other movies, but...
Oh, and then the TV show, Bosom Buddies. Was he in that?
I never saw that.
Yeah, me neither, I'm just saying.
Toy Story, that's all I knew him from.
Toy Story, yeah. Forrest Gump.
Yeah, Forrest
Classic. Gump. And was he in Apollo 13 or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that movie in school, and I was really deathly afraid of dying in a spacecraft after that. So don't go to space, Aaron. It's bad news, man.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, like seriously. Oh, man.
Are we doing Disneyland now?
Oh, that'll be the last part. I have that vendetta against Disney.
Oh, because of the price of everything?
Just everything about Disney.
Dude, if you go now, I guarantee you can get in for a lot cheaper.
No, they're closing Saturday.
No, on Saturday.
Wait, what?
Oh, on Saturday. They're still open.
Oh, yeah.
They close Saturday. So we can leave tonight and be there first thing in the morning.
Catching Corona while on Splash Mountain.
I guarantee you they're doing a deal right now. It's probably 50% off tickets.
50% off.
Which you still got to take a loan out for that, but...
Yeah, you get a plane for $45.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, we can do this. After the podcast, we'll discuss that.
We'll just leave.
Just get in the car.
I'm sure Anna will be wondering where I went. I thought you said you hated Disney. It's like, I do, but it's for the podcast. We're running out of things to talk about. We're trying to get Aaron. He's hugging everyone at the park. He's the Songs of the South mascot.
Oh. Most people won't even get that one.
Good. Anyways, so that's enough about the gloom and doom stuff, man. Because like everything that I read now is just like Corona.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, and the memes are just they're as annoying as Baby Yoda was.
Yeah.
I actually feel bad for cursing Baby Yoda so badly. I was like, darn you.
I hated the fact that they released those memes before I saw episode the first episode.
Yeah.
I start seeing those memes. I'm like, what is this?
I thought you were going to say before you heard about the coronavirus.
No.
Like, I'm so upset. I wish I would have found out the natural way by work shutting down.
Right, exactly.
So now we're going to talk about Miguel since we've neglected him.
Sorry, Miguel.
It's all right. I'm used to it.
Have you or someone you loved ever been affected by coronavirus?
Not yet. No.
Good.
Well, no, not yet. I mean,
It's just annoying so far.
yeah.
It's just a bunch of noise.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll move on to why we wanted you to have you on the podcast, man.
Cool.
Not only is he a medical expert, but he is a very big expert in films, or at least it's something you like to do. I know we talked about that previously.
Yeah, I'll take off my lab coat now and put on my...
Put on your take one. So what do you like about it? Is it more the producing, the directing, the filmography, acting?
The writing, I think I always kind of gravitated more towards that. Directing was always like a goal, a pipe dream, you could say. But I realized early on that, I didn't have money to make movies. So I could just whip out my laptop and write movies. And I didn't need anybody. I didn't need any money to do that. I just needed my mind, basically, and my imagination. So that's from there. I just took off and would spend a lot of time just writing. I would get ideas and then I'd toy with them and then finally put them down. And
Are you writing out like specific shots or just kind of like dialogue? Is it kind of like written like a play or like a story?
Probably more like a play. I did kind of dabble with like creative writing early on. This was back in like high school. I don't write anymore, but when I did, it started with creative writing, and then I sort of like transitioned into screenwriting. Mostly because I didn't want to be able to. I didn't feel like I was really equipped to come up with like words in a colorful way, the way novelists do. You know, because when you're screenwriting, you're just putting the bare bones. Okay, what can you see? And you put that down, and what do people say? So basically, screenwriting is like what you say, what people say, and what you see, basically, on the screen. That's it.
And that would leave room for the actor to improvise some dialogue as well?
Yeah, basically, that leaves a lot of, like, latitude for somebody to just take that and run with it and do their thing. And that's kind of what you see in movies, too. You don't really see the specific vision that the screenwriter had because it's already been through so many different hands.
Yeah.
To the point where you're, sitting in the theater and watching it on the screen.
So when you're watching a bad movie then, just like the dialogue is just, hi, how are you doing today, John? Oh, I'm doing great, but this happened. Oh, that happened. Is it because this person's here who's also a doctor and has known all this stuff for 2000, gives you all the information? Yeah. Whose fault is that?
That could be any number of people who basically drop the ball. They put too much exposition. There's always a character sometimes in the beginning, the first act, that is Mr. or Mrs. Exposition. Their job is basically to explain things that the audience doesn't know. And the challenge with that is that as a screenwriter, you try and make it so that it's spread out and not so obvious, not so in your face. But every once in a while, you'll get a movie where you're watching it and the person, like you just said, is just explaining back history. Like, nobody talks like that, Yeah. Nobody really says backstory of somebody in real life, in natural conversation.
Right. That reminds me of old cartoons. Like, they used to do that a lot in cartoons. They would explain everything because, they assume kids are very dumb. And so they'll explain everything.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And the challenge with that is that, you have to get that information out as a storyteller. But how do you do it?
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, it's basically the one that had the story in the final stages. So if you're watching a movie, it really was the director's fault for not taking that script back and rewriting it in a way that's more natural. Because there's certain movies. In fact, there's one that I saw on your list there that has a character that did that. And did it very poorly.
Are we talking about the explaining how the black hole works and folding the paper?
No. I was talking about Inception.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't put.
Really?
I thought I did put. What was the other one?
Oh,
It's the space one. It's Christopher Nolan. He made one.
Oh, Interstellar?
Interstellar, yeah.
Interstellar, yeah. No, I was thinking of Inception. When you asked me that question, Ellen Page's character was basically written to explain things. So if you were to watch that movie again, pay attention to what she's saying.
And she's the architect?
Basically. And so she's just there to really explain things to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
She might as well
I actually recently
turn to look at the camera.
Yeah.
I recently did just watch it again.
Oh, okay. So you get it. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because I wanted to see it and kind of find some things, because I really like the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And the movies, I feel, are really great, so I can detach myself from being like, well, this dialogue stuff is kind of like, come on.
Right.
Well, how much is too much? At what point do you think?
I guess at the point where they're basically just rattling off information and it has no natural flow to it. That's when you know, okay, this is too much. This is going overboard.
Uh-huh.
And as an audience, you don't need to know that much information because really the goal is to identify with the characters. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, some writers feel like an audience has to know a lot of information because they're going to pull the rug out from under them later.
Based all that stuff wasn't.
Yeah, based off that information. So, the anxiety of a writer is like, I got to make sure the audience knows this or that, but I got to do it early on. Mm-hmm. So that way, when I do my big reveal, whatever that is, then they'll be like, oh, wow, man, of course, because of what they were saying at the beginning. Uh-huh. But, I mean, the pitfall there is basically when the characters are just talking at the beginning about stuff that's just not relevant at all, and they're obviously just spouting,
Story
exposition. They call it exposition, and it's important. It's not that you don't want to have that in a story, but you got to know how to like divide it up.
Yeah, I just didn't like. I liked the movie, but I just didn't like how she would like force her way into situations where they were trying to make it like she was a curious character, but it felt very forced in how she was like going into his dream, for instance. And then he's like, who's that? Oh, that's my wife. Oh, that's your ex-wife who killed herself because of this and that. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and you should never come in here. Now let's leave because this scene is over. And then he takes her out.
She should have just had the script with her.
Right. Flip through the pages.
Turn the page.
Just to kind of piggyback off what you were saying, too, I noticed that in some movies, instead of explaining it verbally, they'll try to use visual cues, which they can also mess that up as well, I think. Because, like, in some movies, for example, the first thing that came to my mind was, like, A Quiet Place. I don't know if you ever saw that or not. But
yes, I did.
They show news paper clippings to kind of give you an idea of what's been going on. Yeah. And in one way, I like that. And in another way, though, I kind of wish it was a little bit more subtle. Because in that movie, they make it very obvious because the camera pans and, like, it shows the clippings, but it goes through a lot of them very slowly. Oh, yeah. Whereas I would kind of wish different clippings would show up throughout the movie and you have to watch it and catch it in the background. Exactly. So I kind of like that a little bit more. And so
there's a skillful way to do exactly what you're talking about. Like you could open a shot with a person reading a newspaper and then closing it and then dialogue starts. Mm-hmm. That's a great creative way to do it instead of just like holding in on the newspaper.
17 people dead by some mysterious thing.
Yeah.
And then a voice says, "Are you done reading it?"
Yeah.
Moving on, So exactly like you said, there's better ways to do it, but it can also be a make or break.
Can backfire. Yeah.
Would you say that Christopher Nolan's a good director then?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. Actually, he's one of my favorites.
Oh, okay.
That's why, it's sometimes painful to criticize your favorite director, but, they have flaws too, They make mistakes, and a lot of it's not their fault. A lot of it's, studio stuff because they screen these movies to test audiences. Mm-hmm. If something's not working with that test audience, the producer's like, okay, we got
this idea. Just put a character in there, and she's going to explain all the stuff you didn't say.
Because it's very possible that an early cut of that movie might have been very different and more like what Chris Nolan had in mind and his brother who wrote it. They might have, had a very more subtle take on it. But it's possible that the studio might have said, you know what, this audience isn't getting it, so you got to have a character say more.
I mean, even with the movie, at the end, you still don't really get it, even with all of that. So I would imagine if she wasn't there, you'd have to kind of figure out what his wife was going through, what she was kind of dealing with because of what had happened. And maybe that would be a lot, like, just too much, like your brain would hurt by the end of it.
Yeah, it's possible. You also got to figure what kind of movie you're making, because that was a Warner Brothers movie, so they're the ones writing the checks,
Right.
So they kind of have a say
Yeah.
on what flows, and so if it was an independent movie, then there's a little bit more leeway to do more experimental stuff. But at the end of the day, Chris Nolan wants to make blockbuster movies, not independent movies. So he has to be, he has to work with the studio.
And just kind of a side note, not without getting too far away, just to be sure, Christopher Nolan, he did do The Prestige, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh yeah.
So that's on my top 5 list for sure. And one of the things I noticed when you talked about the audience and like subtlety, one thing I've noticed in a lot of movies these days is that it seems to me, and I could be wrong, but it seems to me that things are laid out very plainly now, and the stories of movies are very easy to follow because everything is kind of explained right to you very basically.
Yeah.
Whereas a movie like The Prestige, for example, and I can think of some others too, but that movie, you have to watch it and you have to pay attention to what's going on. Otherwise, you're completely lost.
Yeah.
It'll lose you. But I love those movies. You have to watch closely. And I remember I tried to show. This was maybe a year or so ago. I tried to show a buddy of mine, The Fugitive, the Harrison Ford
Oh yeah, I remember
version.
that. Yeah.
And we were watching it, but he would stop and he would check his phone and do other things or whatever. And anyway, when you start getting to the end of the movie, he was completely lost because he's like, "Wait a minute, how did this person?" And I was like, "Well, you weren't watching. You have to. This is not going to spoon feed you the information. You really have to pay attention." And I just feel like those movies are lacking a little bit nowadays, but. That's just me.
Yeah. And I think what you're trying to talk about with The Prestige is that the dialogue, even though it was very plain, it gave you a window into actually what was going on in the background. Because I remember like the guy with the fishbowl, and he's like, that guy lives it. Well, how do you know that? He does. He just lives it. Every single day he puts on this show. Why would anybody do that? And then you find out later, he's the fishbowl guy. And you're like, yeah. I don't know why I'm cheering for this, but hey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was a great movie. I really love that. And I'm so glad that he was able to make that movie because they don't make movies like that anymore. And at that time, that was pretty big. But I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that he had just made Batman Begins and he gave Warner Brothers a lot of money, or he made them a lot of money. So basically, Warner Brothers was able to say, okay, go do whatever you want now because you did good, basically. So he was able to make for The Prestige because of that. He could do whatever he want. And then after, he comes back and they start working on Dark Knight, and that's a success. Then he's able to, again, go and do whatever he wants again. So
Which was Inception, I guess, right?
Right. So it's like a one for me, one for you type.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
And it was and Inception was a original, right? Or was it a book before?
It was original.
It was an original story.
So they wrote it.
They wrote it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, see, that's another thing. You don't see a lot of originals. It's hard to find a good original.
Exactly.
At least that's mainstream.
Since you're here, what do you think the ending is? Is he awake or is he asleep?
I haven't thought about it in such a long time, and I kind of forget what my final consensus was at that time. But a lot of that had to do with the hype, and then I would revisit it a few years later, and then come up with a different theory. But it's been so long. I'm just not. I really don't.
I came up with a new theory because I hadn't seen it in a while. And now it's on Netflix.
Oh wow!
So I was like, I'll just watch it again.
Uh-huh.
And I used to think that he was awake, but at the end of the movie, I don't think it mattered. That was the point of it. Was that he had a kind of accomplished. He'd come to terms. He'd come to peace with what happened to his wife, and so because of that, it really didn't matter whether he was asleep or awake. It was just the fact that he moved on from that part of his life.
And that sounds familiar because I remember reading an interview with Chris Nolan. And again, not that it matters what the artist's intention is, because at a certain point, you have to separate the artist and the art, You come across that a lot. But I still, at that time, I was reading everything he was saying, basically. I was really into what he was doing. And he basically echoed those same ideas, same sentiments, that it doesn't matter. It's not, don't focus on that. It's just an ending.
Yeah, it's more about closure, I think.
Yeah.
That was interesting. I just think when you have to read that much into a movie, though, it's a lot of fun to kind of dissect it, because that's kind of what you do when you're reading a book. Mm-hmm. At the end of it, you're like, wow, like I ran into a lot of boring parts in this book, but it all kind of led up to this one point where you're like either satisfied or you're like pained. You're like, oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
You know,
definitely. Yeah, I've definitely felt so exhausted after watching certain movies or reading certain books. Not just because they're like 700 pages, but you know, just the emotional attachment you get. And you know, one time I even like teared up reading a book.
Yeah.
Because a certain character died, and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't even real. Why am I getting so attached? But you know, you invest a lot. You invest a lot of emotional, you know,
in the characters.
So.
I agree with that, because in books you like in the movie the characters are given to you, their voices are given to you, everything is kind of given to you, so you're following the story. Whereas in books you have to read the characteristics and you invent how the person and the scenery looks in your mind. Because there's been times where I've read a book and then went to see the movie, and the land that I created and the characters I created in my brain based on what the book said they were is completely different from what the movie is. And so it's a completely different feeling. But I haven't read a good book in a while, like a fiction.
It's the same thing as like music videos. Mm-hmm. I never ever will watch a music video, because as soon as you see it, you're like, what were these? This has nothing to do with what I thought this song was about.
Yeah. Well, but you know, I will say this though, a lot of modern videos are like that. Mm-hmm. But some of the older school videos, I'm talking like
Aha, Take on Me.
Well, that's an exception.
I was like, what is this about?
No.
I don't even, first off, I didn't know what this song is about anyways. I just like pretending to sing along to it. But the music video is like, I'm in a comic book. And then this girl's in a comic book. And now we're not in a comic book, but then the comic book comes back.
Yeah. I think there were a lot of videos that actually did match the song. And the ones...
Or Guns N' Roses' November Rain.
Well, that's what I was going to say. A lot of videos did actually... I never saw that video, but... A lot of songs did match the video, and the ones that didn't are the ones that stand out and are memorable, which is why you mentioned, you know, Take On Me and those other songs, because those videos... That
was artistic.
Yeah, they didn't match up, but a lot of songs did. So the ones that didn't, those are the ones that people remember today.
And ones like those kind of were really like, they really did sum up the time period because of technology, you know, that was pretty revolutionary, that Aha song, Take On Me, you know, they had, you know, this technology. They're like, oh, we got to make a music video out of this. And so they probably went a little too extreme.
Yeah, they're like, what do you want? Okay, so there's this girl, and she's sitting in a diner, and she's got this comic book. So we all know girls love reading comic books, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So...
But, you know, I kind of like music videos that aren't so on the nose, you know, where they explain exactly what you're hearing in the lyrics. I like the ones that are a little bit more subtle and, you know, abstract. Sometimes you're not sure how that relates to the song.
There's this Arctic Monkeys one where it kind of like paints this scene of what's happening. Mm-hmm. There's like a girl who's about to jump off a building, and this guy runs and he saves her because he like, a shoe falls and he looks up and he's like, oh my goodness. And so he runs up and he saves her, and the girl's like, oh, I mean, there's no words, just the music.
Yeah.
And they end up going to lunch, and he's like trying to help her. And then she ends up getting like super attached to him.
Yeah.
And so he tries running away, and he like can't get away. And he eventually like breaks away from her, and she like starts crying. And then she runs up to the building again, like she's going to jump off.
Yeah.
But she's just waiting for another guy to come, and she throws her shoe off again for the whole process to start over. And it has nothing to do with the song, but it's just like, it's a good storytelling thing, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Kind of like I thought about Tears for Fears, you know, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. They're just driving around. It doesn't really make that much sense, but it's a good song, and it's an okay video, so, you know.
Now it's Everybody Wants to Buy Toilet Paper.
All right.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to wipe their bum.
I saw a screen cap of Weird Al. Somebody was trying to get him to do a take on this coronavirus. I can't remember. If somebody knows it, you know, shout it out or something. I don't know, but
I haven't heard it.
I forgot. Somebody wants him to do.
Oh man.
A take on coronavirus, and I don't remember what it was.
Well, it's got to have an accordion, that's for sure.
Probably.
Of course.
Yeah. So then, back to like the whole. What would you say about Christopher Nolan then that you appreciate about his films that you think other people kind of dismiss or miss out on? They're like, oh, I don't like this movie. It's like really boring. I didn't really get it.
I would have to say it's probably the amount of like faith he has in a shot, or confidence, you could say, because you watch a lot of movies nowadays, and I mean they don't spend more than like 2 seconds, even 1 second, on a shot. They just go to the next shot, and they keep cutting and cutting and cutting. And I just always appreciated how Chris Nolan was able to have confidence in what he was filming, to the point where he could linger on an image for a very long time. The obvious shots are like the last shot in Inception with the little top, but even just he would never move the camera around and be like just moving it for the sake of moving it. He always focused more on photography than like on animation, because you watch a lot of these Marvel movies or other movies that are being made today, and it looks more like animation.
Yeah.
And Chris Nolan always focused more on photography. Like you could almost say he's like a photographer more than a director, because he just creates these beautiful images, and each one, I mean, it could be a piece of art hanging on your wall. Every shot in every movie is just so beautifully color corrected and angled just right. So I always appreciated that aspect of what he does, but also the attention he gives to like storytelling and character development throughout a movie. So I don't know.
And then what's another director you think that you like their work?
Trying to think.
Seems like the best ones make the most raunchiest movies, so it's kind of hard sometimes.
It is hard to, yeah.
It's like, I mean, they're well known, but most of their movies are about killing people or something.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
You have any thoughts on Wes Anderson?
He was good. Yeah, I enjoyed some of his movies.
Claymation, dude, I love the Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was fun. That was a good one.
Yeah, it's a funny movie. Do directors ever change then, like bands do? Like how
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they.
Do you ever fall out of love with the director?
I would have to say J.J. Abrams. I kind of fell out of love with. Yeah.
We can't mention his name around certain of our guests. Aaron's he'll still stick in there.
I mean, I'm still a fan.
I have nothing against him. I like most of the stuff he does. J.J. Abrams, I like him.
Yeah.
I mean, now some stuff is kind of out there, like the whole what's that series called?
Lost.
No,
Star Trek.
Well, yeah, Lost. That's a whole different story. No, what was his Cloverfield?
Oh yeah.
That whole series, and it's not done yet. That did kind of lose me a little bit. Like I understood, because what they tried to do is say that Cloverfield Lane, and then there was one that showed up on Netflix, I think, a year ago, the Cloverfield Paradox. I don't know if it was Netflix or Hulu, one of them, but he tried to connect them all, but that kind of lost me a little bit. But I actually liked Star Trek. I liked what they did with those movies, because he did all of them, right? Didn't he do all of them?
I think.
Well, the newer ones?
Yeah, I think he did. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You did the Wrath of Khan, right?
No. Well, Khan did end up in that last one, but I thought they were fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I mean,
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna. I wouldn't say he's my favorite, but I don't have anything against him. I thought he did it. I think he does a decent job. One of my favorite directors, of course, I have to say, is Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of those older movies, they still stand the test of time today, and they had no special effects really to work with. You had to tell the story, and you had to do a good job with it.
Yeah.
And he's known for those long shots with no cuts, just one long take. Yeah. And so anyway, that's just kind of a side point. I'm not going to go.
That's
off
funny,
on a
because I
tangent.
never really paid attention to directors as someone who watches. And the reason I know Christopher Nolan is because I like his films so much. But generally, when I mention him, I'm like, oh, like a Christopher Nolan film. They're like, who's that?
Yeah.
I'm like, well,
M. Night.
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan. Oh yeah, he makes like some movies are good, some movies aren't.
So he's known for always putting a huge twist in his movies,
Yeah.
and sometimes in the
Oh, my
twist.
favorite one is where you can kill the aliens with a super soaker. That was my
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Signs.
Signs.
That's one of my favorites. I
Yeah.
love Signs.
Yeah, I like that. That was a
Like,
fun
everyone
movie.
go out and get some water guns because this show's over.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
oh,
pretty
okay.
much. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I actually went to the theater to see Signs with a friend of mine, and my mom and one of her friends went too. But I had them sit in the back of the theater I sat in the front with my friend because I didn't want to be near them because I knew they'd be screaming throughout the whole movie, which they were. And so anyway, at the very end, it was there's you ever have moments where you go to the movie theater and whatever happens gets the whole audience like involved and everyone's like
Tense.
reacting at the same time. There's a few major movie moments that I can think of where the whole audience reacted.
Oh,
Yeah.
And Signs was one of them.
birthday party scene.
Yeah.
It's
That-
like the children's birthday party, and
Well,
then
it's two scenes. That's one of them. Yes.
and the other ones where he's standing on top of the building,
No, not that one. People did gasp.
or
when
the
they saw
hand that comes underneath the window, the door.
No.
And he's like,
That
you're
got
like,
me.
oh
No.
my god!
No, it was the birthday party scene, like you said. Everyone in the theater was like,
Yeah.
and it
you
was
never usually get to see the aliens
right
in those movies.
That had everyone, but the other scene was the very end. Remember when he rolls the TV out?
Oh yeah, the reflection.
If you look at you can see.
Oh,
the
it's standing right
reflection.
behind
Yeah.
him, and they just stand still.
Yeah,
and
and
he's
so-
got the kid in his hand.
Yes, and so what's funny is that when he rolled the TV out in the theater, I heard everyone gasp, like, but I didn't understand. I couldn't.
You didn't see it?
I didn't see it
Oh,
the first
man.
time, and then when they showed it, I'm like, I'm the only one who's like, once they actually showed him, but I didn't. But anyway, that's kind of a random memory, but. But yeah, M. Night, he for the movies that he does, he does put an interesting twist in the ones that you can stand to watch if you can stand some of them. The Village, I like that twist.
You can't watch that movie again, though. You can only see it once.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
You can
agree.
only watch it once. I tried rewatching it, and I was like, no, this doesn't mean anything because I already know the ending.
Yeah.
And I think that a movie that is it's that good that you can't rewatch it.
Well,
There's some movies that are so good you have to rewatch them. There's other ones that are so good it's just like I can only see this once
yeah, it just depends on I
because
agree.
it freaked me out up
Yeah.
until the end. You're like, oh, okay, fine.
Well, yeah, because you look at a movie like Inception, you can watch that a couple of times, but I think that's kind of the idea behind the movie.
Yeah.
You can go back and watch it. Whereas a movie with a very like conclusive ending, a mystery movie, something like that, then yeah, it's just you just watch it once.
Because a lot of these movies are just really made for plot purposes.
Yeah.
To pay attention to the story. So if you can't invest in the characters, then yeah, rewatching it's not really going to matter because you already know how it ends or you know all the major moments. But
Yeah.
So can you sit through an action-packed movie? You know, like they have like new Jurassic Parks, which I just can't watch.
The first one, Jurassic World, was good.
I can't even
It was-
watch them. I'm like, what is the point? I like,
But for
what I want to
someone,
see two CGI dinosaurs rip themselves apart because someone meticulously took time to put blood and gore into this film instead of actually having actors doing anything that's worth anything.
I loved it. For someone, for somebody who sat in the theater and saw the original Jurassic Park in theaters,
Again, it's a breakthrough thing.
it
for
was
the time.
huge at the time.
But now
And
we
so,
see CGI stuff all over the place.
no, I know, but it's just weird to sit in the theater and watch a movie, and they're referencing what happened 20 years ago, and it literally was 20 years ago when that movie came out, or 21 years, I think, right after the
It was
original.
in '94.
No, the original came out in '93,
Oh.
and then Jurassic World came out in 2000.
Oh,
yeah.
the remake came out in 2000, like 20 years ago.
no.
No.
The sequel was called The Lost World. The sequel to the original Jurassic Park.
Which had that one.
No, that one wasn't that good. I didn't think.
No,
Well,
where they
the
go, where they go
original-
to San Diego, the dinosaurs.
No, but Jurassic World ignored the sequels almost, and just it was
You're talking about
Jurassic
the ones
World.
with Christopher Pratt, right?
Yeah, it was
okay.
basically a sequel
Garbage.
to the original movie. It kind of ignored part 2 and
Why do you
3.
need
That's
Yes.
good.
I didn't need a sequel though. I mean, I think Jurassic
but-
Park 3, I could go with that. The first
I
one,
didn't like that
and
one.
the third one.
Only thing I like about the third one is they brought the guy from the first one back. I did like him.
Yeah,
But
but the whole like, I mean, it was dumb because she stole like the Velociraptor eggs or something. They're like, why would you do that? She's like, I don't know. I just thought it was cool. They're like, come on.
Yeah.
And then the whole cell phone ring was like,
yeah,
and he has to like put his hand in the TUX poo and get it.
Yeah, the first one was the best one.
And then in the aviary place, those like it's just tense.
A lot of people did
I
like
liked
that.
it. I can watch it. They went and they took something and they remade it and it was fine. Now with all of these Jurassic World, Jurassic whatever.
I like the first Jurassic World though. I think it was a good sequel to the
They're
first
like,
one.
guess what, guys?
But the second one was
it still didn't work out.
right. Yeah.
Are you serious? You're telling me that a place full of dinosaurs didn't work out again? Seems like we're going to have to deal with this for another 20 years and make tons of money off of it.
They didn't learn the lesson. But anyway.
But yeah,
sorry.
I mean, I don't really even go to movies anymore. I don't really watch movies just because I can't sit through them, you know?
Yeah.
I just don't. I either rewrite the movie in my head or I just don't care and check out. You know? I just think about how I would have done it differently.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like I should have just flushed my money down the toilet because I paid like $12 to get in there, and I'm not even thinking about the movie. I'm just, you know.
Think about what you could change.
So you
about
don't
it.
really watch. You don't go to the movies now. You're saying.
Yeah, I don't really go anymore. So a lot of these movies you've been mentioning, I haven't even seen. Like the Jurassic World movies, I haven't seen. Or
The Jurassic World is worth seeing.
Is it?
No, it's not.
Hear me out. If you were a fan of the original Jurassic Park movie, if you like that
really
one,
gonna hate it.
then you'll like Jurassic World because it's almost a sequel to the
I think
original
you're missing
Jurassic
the point.
Park.
He can't watch it because of the dialogue of it is just terrible.
But you don't go to a Jurassic Park expecting the best dialogue and
point.
acting.
That's true.
You go
Miguel
to
does.
no.
He wants to see Shakespearean
I'm not talking-
dialogue throughout the whole show.
I'm not talking
Sonnets
about. No, I'm
and-
not. Yeah, no, I'm just saying a person doesn't go to those movies expecting
That's true.
the best
Miguel's
acting.
not just a person, okay? He is our movie specialist.
No, I agree, and that's why I said if. That's why I said if he's a fan of the original, he'll like that. That's all. Oh, there's a movie up there there was a movie that's not up on our list, but I just thought about it. Did you ever see A Beautiful Mind?
Yes,
And did you like that movie?
I did. Yeah,
I forgot who directed that.
Ron Howard.
Oh, Ron Howard.
I think he's made a lot of good movies.
Another movie that's really good, but you can't rewatch it because you already know what's going to happen. But it's a very good film.
Well, I could
Yeah.
probably watch it now. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah, but you kind of already know what's going to happen.
That's funny that you mentioned that because I was thinking about that movie.
That's one of my favorite movies too.
You know, I don't want to
Top
spoil
five.
it for our
Spoil
If
it!
you have not seen A Beautiful Mind, watch it. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the character and my life and thinking like, hey, this is. Well, I won't say anymore. Well, you know, sometimes there's moments in your life where you're like, hey, anybody see me?
Yeah.
No, okay. You know,
Yeah.
No, that's one
Anyways.
of my favorites.
So what would you say is your favorite movie that you like, but also doesn't really hold up to your directorial standards?
that's a good question. Wow.
Like one, it's your, I hate the word, like guilty pleasures.
Oh yeah.
They always call that about music that you like, but it's like, you don't want other people to know that you listen to it
Yeah.
because it's like some poppy.
Yeah. I have a lot more of those than I wish to admit, but music.
Oh, okay.
No, Antonio's is the Spice Girls.
The Spice Girls, yeah.
not
I
on
was
my
big.
list.
It was big when I was growing up.
What was the question again?
What is one of the films that you enjoy watching, but you know does not meet up to the standards of this is a good director, this is good plot? You just like the story, you like the characters, or
Yeah. Man, that's a good question. And I know I have an answer to it. I just can't think of it because that has happened a few times where I revisit a movie, especially years later, maybe even a decade later, and I'm like, what? No, this isn't what I want in
Yeah.
a movie. And I don't know if it's because I'm in a different point in my life now than I was when I first watched it. It could be any reason, but I know there are movies like that, and I just can't think of any off the top of my
do you
head.
enjoy watching like older films, like ones that are hours long?
No, that's another one, qualm that I have with modern movies is that they're just getting too long, in my opinion. I feel like once you reach the 2 hour mark, if you
Should
haven't,
have said it.
if you haven't made your point, by then you don't have confidence. Going back to Chris Nolan, who's still guilty of
It's 3 hour.
he's guilty of the very problem I'm talking about. Yeah.
Sounds like you're not a Christopher Nolan fan.
Yeah.
but if the movie is, to me, if the movie is action packed, I don't mind it going over 2 hours. If it's not, then 2 hours should be the cutoff. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Because Inception is like what, 2.5 hours long, right?
I think so. It's very long.
But there's a lot of action, especially when you get towards the end too. There's a lot going on in the end. So that last half hour of the movie, to me, flies by pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I don't mind it. But if it's a movie that's kind of like you kind of have to have your mind into it and you're paying attention, it can get a little bit tough.
If you're not focused on, the fact that you're in a theater in a dark room with a bunch of strangers, you're watching a movie, then that's great. I love movies like that. But if I'm getting restless and I'm doing this, adjusting and everything, and then it's like,
what's the point of watching the movie if I'm just gonna be bored because I'm already bored not watching the movie.
And I've actually read too that when you're dreaming at night, if you dream, it usually lasts about 90 minutes, give or take.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And that's why they model movies after. Well, they used to. They used to model movies off of your dreams. Basically, it should last about 90 minutes. It could go over, but.
Have you ever seen Ben-Hur?
Yes. Yeah.
That's a classic.
Yeah. That's a very long movie.
That is. Yeah. That's very long.
Well, back then though, they did make a lot of movies like that.
Did you like that one though?
It was okay. Yeah, I like the fact. I like the way they made movies back then with the graphics and it all felt very real, like you were actually looking at it. Even if you could tell it was fake, I like the fact that it was right there. You could see it.
It was more like real life, like situational stuff that you're watching someone else go through things. It's not, I mean, they had backdrops and stuff, but no green screen and things like that.
Yeah, and obviously nowadays it's hard to watch those movies again because the background's separated from the foreground.
Yeah,
you
they're like,
nowadays it's
I think one of the horsemen's like wearing a watch too.
Yeah, exactly. I think Kubrick is another favorite of mine. Actually, he's up there. And actually, funnily enough, Chris Nolan modeled a lot of his movies off of Kubrick's movies.
So do you like Space Odyssey 2001?
I do.
And why?
I like it mostly for the production value aspect of it. The story's obviously very heady, very deep, but I just like the shots. It's just a beautiful movie, visually speaking. These shots are just so panoramic, and there's so much confidence. Again, going back to that idea, Kubrick put a lot of faith in his shots. He would hold on one image for a very long time, not so much because he needed to. I mean, sometimes it actually reinforced what was going on in the story, but a lot of times he was just doing it for the eye candy, I guess you could say. But
I don't think I've ever seen one of his movies.
So you need to watch Space Odyssey 2001, not for the fact because you'll enjoy it, but because you need to see it, because for the time it was very
revolutionary.
I know it's a classic that everyone talks about.
The problem with it, though, is if you're used to watching Jurassic World,
well,
this movie.
No, it's not.
Do you like orchestra music?
Yeah.
Okay, the movie has several scenes where all it is just moving in space with orchestral music. And it takes a very long time. Like, even me, I have a lot of patience when it comes to old movies. And for me, sometimes it's like, it just keeps going and going. But for the time, you wanted to see that kind of stuff because there's a lot of the space race and stuff during that time, correct?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fine with me. I watch a lot of different types of movies. I'm not just Jurassic World. I know that's what you're thinking, but no, I watch.
You have to put your movies in a blender for you so you can eat them.
No, dude, I like movies.
Here you go, Aaron.
I like the old movies.
Juice.
I love Twilight Zone, like all the old stuff. And then I like, the movies I've mentioned, like A Beautiful Mind.
But
I love this movie,
This
Prestige.
movie is a little bit, it's an intellectual film. It's not about... it's not about some emotion or something.
Not really. There's not really character investment or development in that movie. It's just stuff happens, but it happens in a way that unfolds very interestingly.
It's supposed to give a commentary upon the evolution of, I don't know.
Man. Basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's got some crazy ideas, but
crazy ideas,
but beautifully made and beautifully, plotted and just it's pretty. Everybody should see it, and I know it's one of those movies that everybody's heard about, and you probably dread actually sitting through it because you've heard about it. But I think he's a director that pulls you in, and you kind of forget you're watching the movie, mostly because it's so long. But
right,
but
it's an artistical piece.
Yeah, I think everybody should watch it, and if you can, watch it in 70 millimeter, which is the way it was filmed. And if a movie theater like the Loft was to like
Oh, that's true.
screen it,
They do occasionally.
that's when I would go and watch Inception, when they would get a film reel of 70 millimeter and see it the way the director wanted you to see it, because there's a big difference in terms of quality, and on the big screen is the best way to see that.
Especially Space Odyssey. If you're going to see it for the first time, it doesn't do it any justice to watch it on a small TV. Like I first saw it, like a little tiny with a big old back end.
Yeah.
I was like, what's the point of this?
I know.
But when it's a huge thing and you have the speakers and you can feel the music, the movie is 142 minutes long.
There's an intermission. That's when you know it's long.
Yeah.
I forget how long the intermission is, like 10 minutes?
I don't know.
Oh, in Space Odyssey?
Yeah. 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Just musical.
That's funny because we were talking about Ben-Hur earlier. That had an intermission.
Yeah.
A lot of those old movies had intermission.
Yeah, the Ten Commandments. And well, I'm just saying, it was around the
I
same time.
I have not rewatched the Ten Commandments. For some reason, my grandma wanted me to watch it a bunch of times, and all I remember is like Moses making out with Pharaoh's daughter, like in every scene. And I was like, "What is going on? I don't think this is accurate."
Well,
That's true, yeah.
I was like a child, and I was like, "I don't think this is right." But oh well, I don't know. Maybe they
Talk about
reading in between the lines.
That's artistic
the book
license.
doesn't.
Artistic license, yeah.
Right. Well, the book doesn't go into details, so we don't know.
Anyways, nice, Aaron. What was I gonna say? But yeah, the movie kind of goes into three. I'm gonna cut that part, by the way.
Are you serious?
I take offense
It's
to
a joke. Dude, it's a joke.
Oh man,
That reminds me of. Oh, never mind. You'll definitely cut that.
cut it all. But yeah, so that's kind of I think that was interesting. I like talking to you about movies.
Yeah.
I knew you were interested in it, but I didn't know you were that interested in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you actually dissect it,
Yeah.
which is something. What?
I'm sorry. I'm just laughing because you're like, I'm going to cut that. I'm offended. I'm like, really? I've said so much worse.
Yeah, I'm just. Anyways.
Yeah. It's so funny. You never know what's going to offend somebody. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
that's true.
That's true. In this day and age, yeah.
Yeah, right. Oh, my God. Sorry. Anyway, continue.
But yeah, I like to dissect. Well, I used to. I'm not really into film a whole lot anymore, which
Because they're all garbage.
basically, yeah, in my eyes, yeah. But also just because it was a part of my life for such a long but brief also period of my life. I think I dabbled in film more in my early 20s. Mm-hmm. But back then I felt so passionate about it, so I would talk about it, and I would sound like a nerd, basically, like, But now I don't care, so I actually enjoy talking about it because I have no reservations about anything.
Yeah.
Wait, do you have anything that you've written? Like,
Yeah. I spent about 5 years writing screenplays, and I would basically spend 1 year writing one.
And has any of this have you done anything with any of them?
No.
Like, is there any recordings? Have you ever done any short?
No, they never really made it to like production, you could say, because I didn't have the money.
Dude, I have an idea.
No, we're not going to make one of his films, Aaron.
No, but we should do like a short. We should film like a short clip
Like
of
an
one of his
Orson
movies.
Welles spoken word.
Yeah,
Yeah, we should.
he's another director I like too.
I tried watching Citizen Kane and I couldn't get through it.
Oh,
Really?
God. Now you're going way back.
Interesting. That's a good one. I mean, I understand why you feel that way.
I did see that, but
It's very different. Yeah, it's
I mean, for the time, though, I could even tell that it was different. It
Yeah.
had a lot of like
yeah. I mean,
cut shots back and forth.
and talk about exposition. I mean, the whole movie is the investigator interviewing people to find out why this happened. And what Rosebud meant, but it's one of those that I watched once and I don't really feel the need to revisit again because I just don't care. But
Rather watch Willy Wonka for the 100th time.
and Willy Wonka. You know, that movie scared me as a kid.
That movie still scares me.
It was so scary.
it's creepy. Yeah.
So we're coming up to the end of the show. We've covered a lot of topics. We've offended a lot of people. Oh, just kidding, Aaron. Okay, let me see. I was gonna talk to you about music.
Yeah. Let's talk about music.
Well, Aaron likes to keep these episodes to an hour.
I have an idea.
Has it already been an hour?
I have an idea.
Dude, it's been an hour.
No.
We spent like 50 minutes talking about coronavirus, though. So
That's
no.
why.
Let's just do this. I like to keep them to an hour. So let's just end this. But Miguel should stick around and we can record a coffee break episode.
Sure.
there you go.
If he's okay with that. Are you okay with that?
I'm fine with that. Yeah, that'll be.
Yeah, we can curse on that episode.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
exactly.
all right.
Yeah. No word will be censored.
Well, then let's stay.
Just kidding.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Awesome. So we'll be right with you this Sunday. I think is when I'm releasing them now. We're releasing this episode on Friday. The next one's on Sunday.
Sounds good to me.
See you on Sunday. This has been Two Crazy Scoops Podcast with your hosts AO, Antino, and special guest Miguel, Peru. Stay tuned this Sunday as you listen to even more interesting topics with your special host, special guest. Thanks for stopping by. Tip your waiters.